Okay, so we're going to create a new project now, and CH04 PCA, right? And C drive MGT 4270. Okay, and then library MGT 4270, and again C drive MGT 4270. That's the path to the folder. All right, finish that, and let me make sure that I have serials. Okay, so now is the time for you guys to download serials and make sure that serials is there in the folder. All right, so I'm going to create a data source. Okay, for serials. Okay. Let's see, let's keep manufacturer name. Okay, I'm going to reject manufacturer. We don't need manufacturer. The name of the serial, no. Okay, so let it be. And ratings, that's our target. But PCA, this example is from your textbook. PCA, remember, is only for the predictor variables. You won't include the target when you compute PCA. Because the purpose of PCA is to take the number of predictors and decrease the number of predictors, while at the same time preserving the predictive variance in the predictor. So I'm going to keep it for the purpose of illustration. I'll keep it as the input, okay, for the present. Okay, so let's just accept all this. Okay, let's create a diagram. So PCA for two variables. Well, let me just say PCA. We'll just use one diagram for both of them. Now bring in serial. Okay, and then so there it is, PCA. Okay, so modify principal components analysis. Good. Okay, so bring that in and correct it. So now we're going to right click and edit variables. Okay. All right, so we're going to now use only two variables. Remember, our first example is between calories and rating, only two variables. So the default here will default back to whatever use or role we set. Well, role is the use that we set here when we created the data source. So if you had rejected a variable, then that would be the default for that given variable. Okay. If not, then it's going to will be used. So what we want to do is, what I want to do is to not use. Okay. So you can select whether to use or not use. So calories and rating, so I'm going to highlight all of these variables, okay, and change the use to no, all right, and then go back and change just that rating alone back to yes. Okay. So now we have calories. Okay, let's do calories also. Yes. So only two variables will be used now. Okay. All right. So now we have two ways of creating the so-called eigenvalues, which represent the coefficients. The coefficients are the eigenvalues. All right. Yes.
My rating isn't popping up.
That's probably because you didn't change it back to input. So target is not something that you would use in PCA, because PCA is only for predictors. It can include Y in it. The purpose of PCA is to take the X's and then decrease the number of X's. So if you set rating as Y, okay, when you set rating as target, what you're saying is that is your Y. So it will not show up in PCA. Okay. So there is two. Let's click OK for variables. Now there are two options for us using correlation or covariance. You need to put that away. No. No devices, okay? All right. Now, covariance, okay, the choice of covariance and correlation is based on the scale of the variables. Okay. Remember the scale, suppose if all the variables are about the same scale, like if you standardize, okay, if you normalize the variables, they'll all be in Z, you know, same kind of level scale. So then you will use correlation. If the variables are not standardized, if it is raw data, okay, so then the scales are going to be very different for different variables, then you will use covariance as the starting point for computing PCA. So then, okay, so that's pretty much the only setting that you have to. So here, cumulative 99% means, okay, it's going to count all the PCAs up to 99% of the variance, predictive variance. The rest of the PCAs will be automatically set to reject. Okay, once you reach that 99%, so those PCAs will be retained and all the other PCAs will be rejected. Okay. So those are the only two things that you have to really be concerned with, and then you run. So here we have the results of the principal components matrix. So here are the two variables that we used. Okay, and here it tells you, it gives you some preliminary statistics, and then it gives you the proportion of variance, okay, in the two principal components. Principal component 1 has captured 86% of the predictive variance. The rest is in PC2. Okay. And the principal component coefficients themselves, make sure that you've selected the coefficients window, and then if you click table, that will give you the coefficients. So that's your first column, gives you the coefficients for principal component 1, and then second column is principal components 2.